Good morning. Welcome to the Board of County Commissioners agenda setting. This is a regular meeting. It is Tuesday, January 24th, 2023. It is 9:03 a.m. This session is set to go until noon today. Hopefully we'll get there. This meeting is at the Atrium, 3000 Pacific, room 110. It is a hybrid meeting. For public virtual attendance, you may follow along on the Thurston County YouTube channel. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the chair of the board. To my right is Vice Chair Ty Menser. Joining us via Zoom is Commissioner Gary Edwards, and he'll be joining us here shortly. Also in the boardroom, we have County Manager Ramiro Chavez, as well as Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell and other staff who are joining us. We'll start our agenda off with our standing topic, which is homeless strategies. And I see Keely.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Excuse me, Keely Marino with Public Health and Social Services with a brief update for you today. Starting off with the Regional Housing Council Advisory Board applications. We have received over 50 applications for both the Affordable Housing Advisory Board as well as the Homeless Services Advisory Board. Those applications, that application time period has closed, and so we will begin the process of reviewing the applications in preparation to make recommendations to the Regional Housing Council for appointment. Other than that, this week is also the Regional Housing Council meeting on Wednesday, this Wednesday, the 25th, starting at 4 p.m. It is a 2-hour meeting, and there will be public comment period. So if anyone in the public would like to attend, you can Google Thurston County Regional Housing Council, and there is a registration link for in order for you to attend, as well as indicate that you would like to make public comment. And then finally, it is the point in time count this week, the annual homeless census, scheduled to pop off on Thursday the 26th, and we'll be having events ongoing throughout the following 7 days, the bulk of which events will be occurring on Friday the 27th. We'll have 2 pop-up survey stations, one at Salvation Army, one at Union Gospel Mission. We'll have 2 events at the senior centers, both Olympia and Lacey, and then a big Homeless Connect event down at the new Interfaith Works built structure called Sergio's Place from 2 to 5 p.m. And then finally, the Youth and Young Adult PIT event from 5 to 8:30. So chock full of opportunities for us to gather as much information as we can from those experiencing homelessness in our county. And we are very excited to get it going and have a successful PIT. And that is all I have for today.
Thank you, Keely. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No, I don't have any questions, ma'am. Thanks.
Questions, Commissioner Menser? No. And no questions for me. Thank you, Keely. Okay, we'll move on to the review of the Board of County Commissioners draft agenda for our meeting of January 24th, 2023. This meeting is at 6 p.m. today, so members of the public who are wishing to provide public testimony should come at 6 p.m. If you come at 2, it will be an empty boardroom. Okay, so we'll start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Vice Chair Menser. Approval of the Tuesday, January 24th, 2023 agenda. Then there will be an opportunity for the public to address the board and county manager's update.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I believe there is going to be a similar number of members of the public related to Supreme Living, the Supreme Living issue. They might be coming and testifying this afternoon. And as a follow-up, county manager's update. I don't have any specific updates, but depending on the conversation we will have later this morning on the Supreme Living under an executive session, if there's an opportunity for me to highlight any potential next steps, I will do so this afternoon. But so far, this is what I understand.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, then we'll move on to consent items A through C. Item 3A is the approval of the voucher list.
Thank you, Commissioners, for your consideration this afternoon is for you to approve the voucher list for the week of January 9, 2023 for a combined amount of $1,453,900 $461,344.82.
Okay, any questions on that? Commissioner Edwards? I saw you unmuted yourself.
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Menzer?
No.
Okay, moving on to item 3B, the advisory boards and commissioners handbook.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. This, I believe, the last step on this, a little bit of, take us a little while to get to the point of, for you to consider approving the advisory boards and commissioners handbook. This version before you, which is included in your agenda this morning, includes all the feedback, revisions that we have received from the board members. And I believe this document is ready for you to consider approving. As soon as that is done this afternoon, we'll make sure all the boards and commissions will have the opportunity to review this and start following up the outlines of this handbook.
The new one's January 18th at the bottom.
Yeah, I think that's the last version, right?
Can you remind me what those last typos or is there something? I got the January 1 version.
Yeah, so it was the couple of things that just typographical errors, removing extra spaces, taking out the capitalizations of like boards and commissions and just changing it back to non-capitalized, minor changes, nothing major.
Commissioner Edwards?
You know, your sound is not coming through very good. I don't know if you can hear me all the time, but you're breaking it out.
Hey, Kurt or Karen, can you check our sound from the boardroom to see if it's the boardroom or perhaps the connection with Commissioner Edwards?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Did you hear Jamie when she was talking?
I can hear Jamie loud and clear. She talked about spaces and punctuation and different things.
Yes, I heard that portion of it, but I thought there was some conversation. Did she get asked a question?
No, what you heard probably is Sarah came and whispered in my ear, and I needed to review a little bit of language that she was preparing. That's probably heard. So that tells you
Okay.
how sensitive
Okay.
this
Uh,
speaker system.
Okay, then that's fine. But maybe my question would be, did we hear back from the different boards and commissions for their input on this?
Yes,
Did we
sir.
hear back?
In the fall of 2022, when we presented this, at that time, the final draft, the board requested for us to reach out to all the boards and commissions. And we got the feedback from some, not all of them, and that feedback is included in this version.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, if that feedback actually ended up being incorporated in this version.
Yeah, just to be clear, we included the majority of the feedback. Some of the feedback that we received was not necessarily applicable to the handbook.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Okay. No questions from me. Moving on to item 3C, Community Planning and Economic Development Contract Amendment for Thurston Regional Planning Council Boundary Review Board.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a yearly request for the board. Years ago, the board made a decision to hire the Thurston Regional Planning Council to serve as the chief clerk services related to the Boundary Review Board. The Boundary Review Board receives requests from any local jurisdiction, in this case the cities, when they like to exercise, any junior districts as well, when they like to expand the boundaries through an annexation process. So the clerk the chief clerk of the Boundary Board, which is the Thurston Regional Planning Council, goes through the process and provides some feedback to the county and the Board of County Commissioners. We have engaged on this on a few occasions, and the last year, in fact, when the city of Tumwater went through significant annexations to eliminate some of the islands within the incorporated limits. That has been extremely successful. And this, again, for you to consider to continue a partnership with TRPC for the next year. And this is have a cost of $20,000. This is already included on the budget. And Jeremy's here to add additional perspective.
Jeremy, anything you'd like to add?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have nothing additional to the county manager's excellent summary.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
No.
I don't have any questions either, Jeremy. So that would conclude our consent items. I just want to go back to item 3B and thank our clerk of the board, Jamie Caldwell. This advisory handbook has been in the works for such a long time, so it's actually really nice to see it come to fruition, and receiving that input from our advisory boards as well. So thank you, Jamie, for your work on this. Okay, so with that, we'll move on to our department items. Items from Central Services, 4A, invitation to bid for countywide security improvements.
You reviewed this item last week, commissioners, and this is for you to consider going through a bid proposal to secure the services of a contractor to provide security upgrades, which includes cameras, card readers, duress buttons, and to upgrade some of the safety elements to 3 county facilities. That would be the coroner's office, emergency service center, and the courthouse building 5. As you may recall, there was a large conversation last year during the budget process where the board, considering the amount of money that we have in the budget, to reduce the scope of work of the security project, and this is a result of that. So as soon as the board approves this, we'll issue a bid proposal, and we'll come back to the board to consider authorizing the contract to the successful bidder. We have an engineer's estimate. They varies from $150,000 to $200,000 to deliver this project, and the funding is coming from the real estate excess tax one, and also some building reserves. And we have the Richard King, the project manager, here to answer the questions.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions. Thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer? And I don't have any questions on this item either. Okay, moving on to item 4B. Thurston County Corrections Facility Security Upgrade Replacement Design.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. This particular item is for you to consider an amendment number 12 to a contractor, which is Harges Engineering Incorporated. Their contract lapsed on December 31st, 2022. This particular contractor was selected through a request for proposals, and it is not unusual to continue to extend their contracts because they have a set of expertise that at this point the county doesn't have that. It's a common practice that we utilize this on-call consultants, public works, facilities, central services, is where we have specific needs for any specific deliverables. And we utilize those consultants who have that sort of expertise to help us deliver those projects. In this case, is Harges Engineering. They will provide the services for to go ahead and provide the work on the Thurston County Corrections Facility Security System. And this will include changing the analog camera system and also to a more digital-based system. The proposal will be not to exceed amount of $97,675. And this is not to exceed amount because it will be based on an hourly base that we have already negotiated with the consultant through the request for proposals. Robin, Richard?
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
You have, do not exceed 10% of that amount? Is
Yeah,
that what you're
yeah.
referring to?
Just in case we
just
have a
in case?
future amendments, yeah.
And you said something about this was selected through RFP, or we put an RFP out?
Yeah, years ago,
Oh, sometime back.
yeah. It's just a renewal, yeah.
And this is just a continuation.
Yes, sir.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, questions? No questions for me. Moving on to emergency services, item 5A, Child Care Action Council Service Agreement.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, I will request this item to be taken out of the agenda. We're not quite ready on this contract. So I will request taking this out. I've been working with Ben on this, and I believe that was a request to see if there is any opportunities to work in the current contract to add other languages. And they reach out, and I believe that was the conversation the board had last week. So we're gonna be exploring that option. So until then, with your concurrence, we'll take this out of your agenda.
So this will now be item 5A, EMS Education and Training Platform.
Right. You also reviewed this item last week, Madam Chair, is for you to consider getting into a contract to provide a EMS software. They will key on the training opportunities, and this vendor is called Lexipol. Medic One provides initial and ongoing EMS training to pre-hospital medical providers throughout the Thurston County. These providers, roughly 600 in total, require a combination of ongoing quarterly training, practical training, and continuing medical education throughout the course of the year. This platform allows to get into the training and provide an effective training to those individuals involved. The total contract amount at this point is $87,652.50 with a 10% contingency, and the funding source is coming from Medic One. There is no general fund associated with this. So just to clarify, this proposal is for a 3-year contract, which per year is just about $29,217. Kurt?
Good morning, Commissioners. Kurt Harden, Director of Emergency Services. County Manager gave a good summary of the item, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Kurt, I just got an email, sorry, I got distracted. I got an email from FEMA for an appeal, and they said confirmation correspondence is due today, so I just forwarded that to you.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
I sent it to you as well, Ramiro. I'm not sure if this is something Blair already responded to. Okay, questions? Commissioner Edwards?
This came with a unanimous recommendation from the EMS Council.
That's my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Menzer? No questions for me. Moving on to Public Works, thank you, Kurt. Item 6A, authorization to issue a request for proposals for Long Lake algae control.
You also reviewed this item last week, Commissioners. And similar to the action the board took back in 2020, when Long Lake experienced a very pronounced and prolonged harmful algae bloom in the lake. At that point, the board authorized to go with a request for proposals, which we awarded contracts back in 2021 and 22 for phosphorus mitigation to control the algae and minimize the potential exposure of toxins. Lo and behold, it appears that we have the same type of algae bloom this year. So this request is to go with a request for proposals again to secure the services to make the similar treatment that was provided back in 2021 and 2022. And Tim Wilson is here to answer any questions.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
dollar amount to be expended, that's been raised by that local community, is that right?
Yeah, this is no county dollars. This is associated with the Lake Management District in Lone Lake, which is paid by the fees of the residents.
And that was voted on by those folks, right?
This action is fully supported by the Lone Lake, Lake Management District.
Thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Mensah?
Nope, I see my questions were answered last week. Got my notes.
Okay, I don't have any questions. Next item is item 6B, adopt resolution of findings and determinations for proposed Offutt Lake Management District number 24.
For your consideration, Commissioners, this is the next step in the process. As you know, the formation of a lake management district in the county is somewhat lengthy and laborious. It has been taken initial steps to get to this point. And for your consideration, this particular item is for you to approve a resolution for finding and determinations and at the same time of establishment of the Offutt Lake Lake Management District number 24. And the result of this action, if you decide to take it this afternoon, is to send this particular proposal to the residents who are within the district, who are in the boundaries of the proposed Lake Management District. And the result of that will be an election, and that results of the election will come back to you, and there will be next steps the board needs to take before fully completed the formation of the Lake Management District. There's a lot of history in this, so I will stop there. If you have any questions, Jennifer and myself are open to answer those.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
I guess I would ask if this is, this isn't the one that was controversial, is it?
No, that's Patterson Lake.
Yes, okay.
Patterson Lake and the formation of the LMD is a little bit further ahead in the process. The last public hearing that you received was on the fees and charges, and that's where you received some of the public testimony. At this point, I'd really don't like to elaborate too much on Patterson Lake. There is a couple of legal elements that have been put in front of us, so we need to take care of those before we can bring any other next steps for the county. This is for Offutt Lake.
Yeah, okay.
I have to take issue with that though, in terms of controversial. I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, other than Mr. Trowbridge's argument, it seems like they're exactly the same situation. Some people are for, some people against, some people think certain parcels should be included, some people think some parcels shouldn't be included. I'm not sure why you're calling Patterson controversial and Offutt not controversial. They looked exactly the same to me.
If I may
Division of opinion.
provide the feedback that you received during the public testimony was related to my words, the fairness of the fees and charges. The fairness as to how the fees
I
and
heard
charges.
the same arguments in Offutt.
Yeah, so
There's people that were upset about the boat landings playing too much, and these people are only have access to a club. I'm looking at Tim, am I right? Like, some folks are only having access to the lake through a certain clubhouse and there's fees, so it was like hard to figure out how to charge everybody to make it perfectly fair. Anyway, I'm not sure what you're remembering, Commissioner.
Yeah, I just, that's what I was trying to see if we heard a little more about one than the other, maybe.
Yeah,
that
I
might
would
be-
say maybe
that's all.
Patterson a little more, but that, you know, that, because there's that extra piece of like, is it navigable and do people own pie-shaped slices?
well, that's
of the
different.
bag?
That's a different issue, which
Yeah.
I believe has been resolved, at least from my point of view.
Not based on the legal documents that were on my desk. Aren't we being sued?
No, that's different. Yeah, we've been, there's two litigations related to Patterson Lake. And I believe I provided that information to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at this point, it's not resolved, and at this point, we're gonna be waiting before staff brings an item related to Patterson Lake until those two litigation matters are resolved.
Thank you.
My turn? Yeah, so, I met with, are you supporting the Offutt Lake formation?
Not right now, no.
Okay, and is that because of Can I ask you?
Why?
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to go into
Yeah.
great detail, but at the highest level, what's your concern?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, so I brought up 3 points last year, right, when we were considering bringing Pattison and Offutt Lake on. And one of my main concerns was staffing, and that was when Paula was still here. Now there's only Tim. And, just credit to Tim, like, this is honestly just one of the many things he does. And right now, he's having to manage 2 lake management districts. He's having to onboard, although that's paused, another one. And then he's gonna have to, take another LMD through the process, through the election process. And then after that, he's also having to hire new staff. So it's just, I just don't think we're at the staffing level where we should be. If we had actual staff there that were already in public works and helping out with this, I would be more conscious of it and wouldn't be, but I don't think we're there with staff right now. I think we need to actually onboard staff before we're bringing on any more LMDs. So for me, it's just from a staffing perspective that I have a lot of concerns. So that's where I'm at.
So that's what I thought, and thank you. And so I guess kind of with that in mind, which I think is totally legitimate, when I met with leadership of Long and Lawrence Lake, they were, one of the many things they were concerned about was something that they'd heard about a staffing proposal from Public Works. I hadn't heard anything about it, so I was only able to just listen. But from whatever source, they think that there's a proposal with a lake management administrator and multiple underlying staff members and like kind of a whole team. And they're very, they were on their side very concerned that their costs would increase because of the creation of all these more staffing. So not knowing where that stood, it kind of puts me in a corner here with Commissioner Mejia's concern. Is there a staffing proposal coming that is gonna address Commissioner Mejia's concern, but gonna upset potentially Long and Lawrence? And, making this decision that we definitely wanna move forward with Offutt Lake, not knowing what's right around the corner in terms of a county staffing proposal I feel like I'm getting a little bit blindsided. I don't know which way to go. If I say yes now, and then I find out that we need a whole bunch more staff that's gonna inflame, throw fuel on the fire with 2 of our other lake management districts, or on the flip side, if we don't do it, but then Commissioner Mejia is totally right, and we're completely undermanned and unable to manage the 2 new ones. I mean, or something in the middle, I don't know. But it sounds like it all connects to this decision.
Sorry.
What I'm wondering about here is, if we do have questions, I mean, I think we have an open FTE position is one thing. for
Right, Paula's
position, right? So rather than put this on for a vote about moving forward, are we up against a time frame? I mean, why couldn't we take this off of the agenda for today and until we get some of these issues rectified? Because I still think we all want to get to clean water and solve the problem, but maybe we're just not there yet to move forward. Because if we do this and then we're not able to move forward, what was the point, I guess? So I'm kind of with you in that regard. If we haven't solved anything, why put it on here for a vote? And then it's got a history of, we voted against it here.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm feeling like I'm at, but.
So let me answer your question first. There is not a deadline on this. We're just trying to be responsive to the citizens' request, because if the board approves this the LMD, the assessments will not be showing up until 2024. And we have time until we can submit this to the county treasurer until I believe at the end of November of this year. So there is time. Let me go back to your question, Commissioner Mensah, related to staffing levels. Is perhaps there's two elements on this, and I will ask probably the director to correct me if I'm off this. I believe the department and the staff has been raising concerns about purely staffing and resources. And that has been a part of the discussion during the budget process last year. Though this is not new, adding 2 LMDs based on the current staffing levels is not sustainable. And that is the underlying issue that we as a staff have concerns related to the 2 LMDs. So that is,
When you say current level, do you mean
it's status quo.
unfilled Paula's position or filled Paula's position?
With it filled.
Yeah, so assuming we have one full FTE, that person has enough, even filled to manage another 2 LMDs. And that was part of the conversation, the suggestion that we brought to the board last fall, during the budget process. Though that has not changed, at least from the staff point of view. Now, the reorganization, the structure is a different conversation that we need to look and see how we can effectively, on that different organization, can be probably more effective in managing the LMDs. I believe that we are not going to be creating a structure that is going to be bringing more burden to the LMDs financially. That is not the intent. That is not the intent. So it's 2 different elements on this, it related to resources. I don't know if you want to add anything else, Jennifer, put you on the spot.
Accurate. I think every time we've talked about adding an LMD, we equated it to a half an FTE. So if we had 2 LMDs that were going to be added, we looked at needing another FTE in addition to the current FTE that we have. What we were looking at was, is that additional FTE, should that be another aquatic resource specialist, or should that be a program manager? So it's dividing up the work differently. But every time we've come and talked about the LMDs and adding another LMD, I've been very consistent about the staffing need.
I thought so, which is why I was, confused when I talked to Long and Lawrence and
I have no idea where,
because they were saying, because it's like if because then the 2 LMDs that we're potentially adding would be 1 more person, and they were thinking it was like there was going to be some proposal for like 3 or 4 more people. And
I can't respond to that. I have no idea.
Isn't the history going back, maybe even before Paula? But I think, while Paula was there, I thought that, like one lake was, I don't know, contributing 30% towards Paula, and that was her work, and the other lake maybe was 40 or 50, and then, I don't know, weed control or something was contributing to the rest of it. So it wasn't a full FTE position dedicated solely to the lakes, I guess. And so now you're saying, well, this is gonna have to be a full 2 FTEs, 1 for the 2 lakes, 1 for the other 2 lakes, if they, come on. And I don't understand why that's necessary. Why, if we had the position filled right now that we do have, I think that'd be a big plus.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't want to base it on the fact that we're not going to be able to move forward unless we get 2 FTEs filled. I'm not sure that is a necessity. I'd like to see us get 1 FTE position filled and let that person kind of give us some advice as well as to if it's possible. I mean, could we do 3 lakes with 1? And I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. That's why I'm saying maybe we need to hold back just a little bit. I've advocated, I want to put more county revenue into this to help as we move forward. I don't know where that would fit exactly, but so maybe it makes sense at this point, just to kind of hang fire here on this.
But your concurrence, commissioners, we can take this item off the agenda today, and the staff will come back to have another conversation related to resources. Just to have that conversation, how the existing resources are working out. There is a full-time position, whether it's full or not, it's a full-time position. And how that position is going to be meeting the demands of the existing lake management districts and the proposed lake management districts. And I think that next briefing will be solely focused on the resources. And at that point, we can probably have more detail.
How close are we on the one FTE that is now vacant? We're close?
Yep, we're doing reference checks right now.
Yeah, I mean, just to clarify where I'm at, I mean, it's like you've been very, very consistent, and I knew that when we added these two, we were gonna have to need another employee, and that, you know, I wrestled with that, but I ultimately said, I think we should go ahead and do that. Then I got nervous when I heard from, you know, Barry and Doug that they thought there was gonna be a proposal, and I, you know, sometimes sometimes things are held back from the commissioners until they're ready to be fully vetted, and, you know, it's sometimes the case that community groups and stakeholders hear a little buzz before we do. So I thought maybe this was the case, that they were hearing a little bit of buzz, and that made me nervous, because I was barely there with the extra, you know, employee. Wasn't sure I was gonna be there if it was gonna mean 3 more, especially not knowing how we would charge that and who would be paying, and is it
Well, I
gonna
think the
create
board
a
sets
burden on
policy,
existing
so-
LEDs?
Yeah, the board sets policy and I'm going to provide you with what are the resources that we need to do that. So based off of what the board has talked about doing, it's 2 FTEs. If the board wants to do more with the Healthy Lakes program, wants to expand that, we can talk about what that looks like, absolutely. And I welcome the opportunity to talk about what it looked like, speaking to your comment, Commissioner Edwards, when it was just noxious weeds in Lake Management District versus where we are now, which is the Water Resources Division, which has water, sewer. So Tim's availability to support is greatly diminished because of the other programs that he's responsible for managing, so.
Which will increase workload to the second person in, like, the Paula slot. And when you're saying 2 employees, you mean the Paula slot that we have plus a new.
Aquatic resource specialist plus another FTE. I have no plans. Tim and I have had 0 conversation about anything beyond that. So I don't know where that came from.
I'm closer than I thought I was, but if you still think there's a value to.
I think it'd be probably good to provide that information.
So I think there's a lot of, I think you need to have all the pertinent information before you make an informed decision on this. And because I believe, as Commissioner Edwards stated in many occasions, you know, it's water quality and everything else, and I believe the board is invested on that approach as well. But I think we need to be successful in whatever policy the board sets. And the success is making sure that we have the right resources to achieve those objectives. So taking this agenda out of your consideration today makes sense to me. And then we'll come back with a little more detail on the briefing as to how the resources and the staffing level should be. Yeah.
We haven't budgeted for this second position yet. Yeah.
So all that I think should be a good conversation to have.
Thank you.
Okay, so item 6B will be removed from our agenda today. With that, we will review our standing items. Do we have a commissioner's check-in this week?
Yeah, speaking of the commissioners check-in, Commissioner Edwards and myself needs to step out of the commissioners check-in halfway because we need to meet with a couple of legislators, talking about legislative priorities. So it will be just the 2 of you. So I don't know if you want to cancel it or.
I have Salmon Recovery Council.
Okay,
Oh,
so
okay,
that
so we'll go
answers.
ahead.
So we'll
Yeah.
cancel the commissioners check-in for this week.
We have a Thurston breathing from 9 to 10, and I'll catch like the first 2/3 of that, and then I'm out.
Yeah, and then we'll cancel the commissioners check-in.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then, I was just wondering, the commissioners will report on work sessions and times for the meeting, just because it's gonna probably be late and, so commissioners have a lot to report on, I guess.
You want us to report
No,
on it?
keep it brief.
Keep it brief. Okay, I missed that.
Is what I'm asking, is to keep it brief, please.
Because it's gonna be a long evening.
Yes. Okay, and then the county manager will review the Board of County Commissioners schedule and we will adjourn. Next is the review of the Board of County Commissioners draft agenda for a meeting of January 31st, 2023. We're calling the meeting to order at 2 p.m. The Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Commissioner Edwards and approval of the Tuesday, January 31st, 2023 agenda. Jamie already told me that she's removing the board meeting minutes, so that will be removed from your agenda next week. Next is an opportunity for the public to address the board and county manager's update.
At this point, I will not even venture to tell you what type of public testimony we'll be receiving next week, but certainly you will receive some. And if there's anything that I need to follow up as a result of today's public testimony, I will do so next week.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No question.
Questions, Commissioner Munson? Okay. Moving on to consent items, 3A through 3C. Item 3A, approval of the voucher list.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for your consideration is to approve the voucher list for the week of January 16, 2023. And this has a combined amount of $2,729,507.69.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No, there's no amount in here right now, but that's okay, I guess, right? It's gonna be added.
On consent? Yeah,
We did have it.
yeah. It's-
My apologies if you have an old copy. Is that for the 31st?
Oh, that's so weird. You don't have it.
You probably may have an old copy. My apologies, sir.
Yeah, I had a swap out this morning that Jamie had on my desk.
Oh,
Okay, so then,
okay, that's fine.
let's get you a copy from, could we get him a copy from over here?
Actually,
You have it?
I did get it from Jamie. She gave it to
That
me.
was the only change.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. You're way ahead of me. Sorry about that.
No worries. Okay,
And she even made me a note and I missed it, so.
County business is complicated, Commissioner.
Yes, it is.
okay. Questions, Commissioner Menzer? Okay, moving on to item 3B, emergency services, special weapons and tactics, SWAT physician agreement.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, Thurston County Medic 1 contracts with Mr. Daniel Gilday to provide services of the special weapons and tactics training, and that is the SWAT physician. That is a doctor. The SWAT physician provides medical support to the SWAT team and other emergency service personnel during training and incidents, and provides immediate medical stabilization to civilians involved in the SWAT incidents. Over the last 2-year agreement, Thurston County Medic 1 will provide a compensation amount of just of $30,000, not to exceed $15,000 per year. And that is the proposal for your consideration. It's a 2-year contract to provide the special physician services to support the SWAT team in the county. This is coming from Medic 1. There is no general fund. And Kurt is here on behalf of Ben to answer any questions.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kurt Harden, Director of Emergency Services. Your county manager gave a good summary, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
And this is endorsed by the EMS Council.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
This is actually a pretty good program, and it's good that the EMS is funding it. And we actually had an officer shot, I want to say 2 years ago, and had the doctor right there to patch him up.
It's always good to have the physician.
Yeah, and we've been doing that for
It's
quite a
good.
few years
Yeah.
through one process or another.
That is a very good team to have.
That's good to know. Yeah, I was just like, I never heard of this. Okay.
Keep the assistants close.
Kurt, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say, we've had this in place since 2016. So it's a great program as well, because we also have paramedics as part of that SWAT response that goes along with the physician.
I have a question. Because
Mhm.
Commissioner Menzer just mentioned that he's never seen it before, but you're saying this has been since 2016, but then I'm only seeing here that it's from 2023 through 2024. Was the previous contract longer and now we're just doing it kind of on a, or did we just kind of miss a boat, I guess?
No, we didn't vote. It was approved previously, this contract, but we've changed the dollar amount. And so now it's a multi-year contract instead of individual 1-year contract. So now we're going ahead and we're changing it from $12,000 to $15,000. We're putting it in a 2-year contract. We've been doing this in consultation this year with the sheriff's office, who is responsible for the SWAT operations and works closely with the physician.
Great, thank you. Public Works, item 3C of the resolution of classifying position in the Thurston County Pay Plan and Classification Pay Plan.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. You have heard me say this before, it's a good practice when a vacant position become available for any office and department. The department or office goes through the process to determine what will be the right makeup of that position to address the business needs of any office and department. The Department of Public Works has gone through this process, as I highlighted, and this request for you to consider reclassifying an accounting assistant to a senior financial analyst. This has been coordinated with Human Resources. As you know, the complexities of Public Works and the funding requires this particular reclassification. And this will have a budget impact from $6,174 to $8,726 per month, just about $2,550, a 41% increase. This is not, will be an impact on the general fund, as Public Works will be covering this through the road fund. This in all the many different funds, included the tipping fees, solid waste, and all related protected funds within Public Works. And I believe Karen Weiss is here to answer any additional questions related to this request.
Okay, questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer? No questions for me? Okay, moving on to department items. Items 4A from the Auditor's Office, updating county commissioner districts' legal descriptions due to redistricting as a result of the 2022 general election ballot measure approved by the voters to increase the number of county commissioners from 3 to 5.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. This is the next step in the process. Just to give perspective, the voters approved back in November, as I stated, moving from 3 to 5 commissioners representation here in Thurston County. The Board of County Commissioners approved the district boundaries back in December 2022. This is the next step in the process for you to have approve a resolution, including the legal descriptions of the boundaries that you approve. This is the mechanical aspects that we need to go through the process just to make sure all the legal descriptions, which includes all the precincts embedded within those districts, they will need to be codified, meaning in an ordinance. And this is the step that you will take. I believe there is a briefing tomorrow where the auditor's office will get a little more in detail about this particular proposal, among other issues, but really it's just the next step to make sure that we encompass the decisions of the board made back in December with the 5 commissioners districts.
Questions? And I see Tilly here. Tilly, do you have anything to add?
Thank you, Commissioners. No, County Manager did great as far as the description for this. Thank you.
Thank you.
They throw me flowers this morning.
That's tomorrow at 9?
Yeah.
No questions, thank you.
Questions, Commissioner? Okay, no questions from me. Thank you, Tilly.
Thank you, Lee.
Okay, moving on to Central Services, 5A, resolution and call for field bids for fairgrounds infrastructure improvements.
So what I call this is finally we get to the point, Commissioners, this is related to the signature project the board invested on the fairgrounds. And there's money set aside, the board made to see how we can enhance the fairgrounds building. And this is the first step on that process. And this particular request is to secure the bids for a contractor to do the phase one, what I call of this signature project, which will be the demolition of a couple old buildings, as well as the site preparation for the new building they might be coming up down the road. We have money at this point to do the site demolition and preparation. And at this point, we don't have all the money and resources to do the construction of the future building that might be coming down the road. And again, this is the first phase of the process. Jason is here to add additional perspective.
Jason, anything you'd like to add?
No, I believe County Commissioner covered it.
No, Commissioner, County Manager.
Or County Manager, sorry, County Manager.
2 other commissioners are coming.
Yes,
Kurt called you county commander.
yeah.
I like that one better. Could probably use a couple of stars of my phone.
Questions, Commissioner Everett?
You mentioned that we don't have money to finish the project. We've got money, but just not enough money to finish it. I would like to, I don't need to remind anybody here, but we utilized that fairgrounds quite a bit during this pandemic, and it was very beneficial. And should we end up in a situation where we've got a few dollars left, we're up against a deadline or something and haven't got it spent, I think we can justify using some of our ARPA money on this particular project. We've already shown we used it for this in the past. We used, it benefited so I'd just like to at least be thinking about the possibility if something comes up that we finish it off with maybe ARPA money, if at all possible. So just something to think about.
Yep, we can always look at that possibility, Commissioner.
Of course, we will look and pay attention to that. We had the original rules around ARPA were pretty strict when it comes to infrastructure. We know that the action Congress took at the end of last year has expanded infrastructure possibilities, but we don't know to what extent. So we're waiting for the rules to come out from US Treasury. And as soon as we have that, we'll know what other things we can fund with this money.
And I think it's gonna get more liberal just because there's a lot of other jurisdictions that
But
are.
also you may find competing interest in projects that you may consider as well.
Oh,
because
that's true. I'm just saying,
Because
maybe, it's a maybe.
they thought
We
that
did.
the elections building may be.
We got that too, yeah.
Yeah.
But we didn't use the elections building for the pandemic assist. We did use this one and this property.
No, that's, if
That's
the new
all.
Treasury guidance allows for this type of projects, it will be a good conversation among yourselves.
Yeah,
how you guys-
that's all. Just think about it.
What is there, Jason, like sometimes when we put things out to bid, we have like an engineer's estimate or something. Do you have a thing, your ballpark you're looking for on this one?
Yes, I do, Commissioner Menzer. The base bid that we're going out for, the engineer's estimate is $388,000.
And we've got enough to cover that piece of this?
Yeah.
We do.
Between 250,000 grant and 250,000 that the board put in. We have $500,000 available. This fits within that. It's of course not everything we want to do at the fairgrounds, but it's a start.
Yeah, okay. Forgot about that grant. I mean, we kept remembering we had the 250 that the board
Right.
had put.
So we have additional information. We'll come back when we have a little more time to give you more information about the fairground project and the price tag and what we need to do to get there. But this is a start that'll have it ready. It'll at least have a nice finish. It'll get the pole barn out of there.
And, Jason, I think as part of this project, are we bringing utilities to this potential new site?
That is an alternate bid one we've included because I felt like the engineer's estimate was quite high for the demolition and the pad. So we'll be asking for alternate bid one, which is extending the utilities to the site. But the engineer's estimate for that came in at 198,000. So, but like I said, I had conversations with Robin and Josh with CPED, and we felt like we would do the base bid and alternate bid just in the hopes that if it comes in under, we could maybe possibly do both.
Right now, both exceeds the amount of money available, but hopefully the demolition will cost less than they think.
You know, just something to think about. I think that Fort Lewis helped us on that park over on the sports complex some years, but a lot of years ago. And sometimes they do that kind of stuff, their engineering department. So I don't know if anybody, be worth asking something like that.
I'm sorry, to do
Well, that.
the labor of the demolition?
No, well, some of it as part of their practicing, their activities. That's what happened out at, I think at Marvin Road. They did a lot of leveling,
So
and preparation
yeah,
work.
I don't know about that particular example that you cited, Commissioner, but this is a,
Yeah, out at the
this is a public works
They-
contract that
I
we
know,
need to
but
bid.
but they did something that saved the taxpayers quite a bit of money. And I think it was prep work. Something to think about.
And I will add, that is part of this WSDA grant. It requires so many volunteer hours from the community. So that was taken into account with these cost estimates and the work to be completed.
Thanks.
Any more questions? Moving on, thank you, Jason. Item
Yep.
5B, resolution and call for sealed bids for Thurston County Public Health and Social Services water.
So, Commissioners, this is what I call is the last part of moving some of the areas in groups out of Building 1 of the courthouse campus. So you may recall, all the offices are moving here to the atrium, but also part of the plan was to relocate the water lab to the Lilly campus. Since some staff moved out of the Lilly campus to 3000 Pacific, that created that opportunity. We were working on the design of that particular lab. And so right now, the staff that provides the water testing continues to be sited in Building 1. So this particular request is for you to consider going out to call for seal bids to secure the services of a contractor to start building the new lab at the Lilly Road campus. And that in gist will finalize the last step in moving out staff out of Building 1. The result of that is hopefully we can start do some work on Building 1, hopefully this summer, to take the next step on remodeling the whole courthouse campus. Tony Shell, the project manager, is here to answer any questions related to this proposal, and obviously Robin.
Good morning, Tony Shaw, project manager. No, thank you, county manager, you explained it very well. The bid cost estimates came in at a good price that we were happy to see, and see what our bids come in at.
Commissioner Edwards, questions?
I'm not gonna hop on.
No questions from me?
Thank you, Tony.
Okay, moving on, community planning and economic development. Item 6A, set a public hearing for Development Code Docket Item A-18, agricultural activities, critical area ordinance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is, as you stated, is develop critical areas ordinance related to agricultural elements as part of the docketing process. The Planning Commission reviewed this item in two work sessions back in 2022, July 20th, as well as October 5th. They held a public hearing on November 2nd, 2022. And the Planning Commission forwarded a unanimous recommendation for the board to consider these updates. The board held a briefing on January 11th where you provided just the direction to staff to bring an item for you to set a public hearing where you will be receiving public testimony before you consider taking an action. As you may recall, the gist of this particular proposal is to provide flexibility to agricultural activities in association with critical areas. And I think that's probably a good thing for the board to consider. Ashley is here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Okay, questions, Commissioner, or Ashley, anything you would like to add before? Any other questions?
No, I appreciate the county manager providing a thorough overview.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions at this time, thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Munster? I have a question on the timing, and I was looking at Jamie for that. It's set at 5:30 on the 28th. So I was just.
Why is it at 5:30?
Is it because we're meeting at 6 p.m. that day?
I believe it's because we've discussed possibly having that one last late evening meeting in next month if we decided to continue the one more.
But certainly, if you can have this public hearing set for 3:30 in the afternoon.
Well, let's have a discussion, commissioners, because I don't want to have a public hearing at 3:30 and then have a BoCC meeting at 6, right? So if we are going to have that 6 p.m. meeting, then I would say, okay, fine, let's do 5:30 and then 6. If we're not going to have that 6 p.m. meeting, I would rather just move it to 3:30. But I want to hear from commissioners on, are we going to have a 6 p.m. meeting on February 28th?
Well, I think we're gonna have a sense tonight of how many people come forward to justify, I suppose, tonight is gonna be part of it.
But tonight,
It's unusual tonight.
if in fact, if it's related to the Supreme Living, those individuals came at 2:00 last week, and they will be here 6:00. So if you take those out of the equation.
That's not a very good comparison.
That is not my personal humble perspective, we have not seen a significant increase in public engagement on the 6:00 meetings, more than the 2:00 meetings.
So I want to just keep it consistent, right? So if we're going to have the, Commissioner Menzer, what is yours?
I'm on the same page with all of you guys. I mean, so I would say keep this on 5:30, see how tonight goes. If we decide, we always can flop it before we actually take the action next week. We can move it to 3:30.
That was gonna be my suggestion. Let's see how tonight goes. This item is not for your consideration until next week.
I'm ready to pull the plug if I don't see, and again, it's not a Supreme Living group. It's not, there might even be interest just because of first evening meeting in the 3000 Pacific, but I don't believe that we've seen any indication that there's more citizen all factors being controlled for, there's been any, more engagement in the evening meetings. So I'd rather do the quarterly or biannual out in the community, alternate location meetings than just flopping it to 6 every month. But we'll see how tonight goes. for me.
Okay. Okay, so then we'll wait on, see how tonight goes, and we'll be discussing the time next Tuesday. Okay, thank you. Moving on, Public Works, item 7A, contract award for the Public Works Solid Waste Facilities Pump System Upgrades and Improvements, Stormwater System.
So this is a little bit of a complicated item. Hopefully I do justice to explain what this is. Obviously, as the title states, this is to upgrade the facilities, the pump system that we have on the Work and Recovery Center, the work. So the board approved going out to bids back in June of 2022 to do all the work. But the estimates that we received were way beyond the budget allocated to that particular project. So we went back and received went through another bidding process, which included options. The base bid, and also option 1 and option 2. The result of that bidding process was September. We received 4 bids. The board authorized moving forward with the base bid as well as with option 1. And that's how the project has been moving forward. At this point, during the budget process, the board authorized additional budget in 2023 that will allow us now to ask the contractor to do option 2 of the base bid. So we have a full project at this point. So that is really the gist of this particular item, is for you to consider adding the current to the current contract option 2 of the initial bid that included, again, the base bid, option 1 and option 2. I'll stop there and I will give Susan the opportunity to elaborate on that if I was totally off on my explanation.
I think you did very well on your explanation, County Manager, but I'm here for any questions.
Thank you, Susan. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No, I don't think I have any questions at this point in time.
Questions, Commissioner Montre? No.
By the way, no general funds on this. It's solid waste.
Select,
Tipping fees.
And we have a healthy fund balance, right? Bobby? Yeah.
Which we have plans to spend that as well. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 7B, resolution and call for sealed bids for purchasing and planting trees as mitigation for the Marvin Road upgrades project.
When I was reviewing this item, that just gives you my perspective, a little bit of history. When I was reviewing this item, it brought back memories of my previous life back in Pierce County. I believe at that time, Pierce County was the first county who was put in the position to mitigate the impacts of the western gray squirrel. And the western gray squirrel is listed as an endangered species here in Western Washington. And it's an interesting because visually you don't see the difference between the western gray squirrel and the eastern gray squirrel. But that's how genetically the western gray squirrel has been endangered. Similar to the pocket gopher, the way we mitigate the impacts to endangered species is the habitat. And the habitat for the western gray squirrel is the Oregon white oak. That's the tree, and that's a protected species trees. And through the process, we have been going on mitigating as to the impact when any particular project that we have in any project in Western Washington, I believe, we need to mitigate for any trees that we take down as a result of public infrastructure. So this particular item is exactly the point. We're planning to do improvements on Marvin Road, and we have several clumps of Oregon white oak. And the approach that we need to do is, and the requirements is we need to purchase Oregon white oaks. It has just about of 2 to 3 year life, so we cannot just plant seedlings as part of the mitigation on this. So the impacts on the improvements on Marvin Road requires just about 300 trees. And the approach that we have taken, and this is status, we purchase those trees 2 to 3 years old, and then we put them on a nursery so they can grow and thrive until the project is completed, and then we'll go ahead and plant those trees after the fact as way of mitigation. So this particular item is requesting the board to call for sealed bids to secure the services and the purchasing and planting of the Oregon white oaks related to the mitigation of the improvements on Marvin Road. That was my long explanation. Ryan, anything else?
Thank you, County Manager. No, that was a great explanation. I realize it's a fairly unique and potentially complicated item, but I'm here for any questions.
Do you know the history of that one, that the eastern gray squirrels?
Yeah, you want me to add to that a little bit?
Well, you can add anything you want.
The eastern gray squirrel is acing out the western gray squirrel that will soon not be around.
Right, and that's what the western
And
gray
it has
squirrel.
nothing to do with how many oak trees we plant, because the easterns will move right in there and take care of the westerns, and they're gonna win, because they're about twice as big.
Yep. So,
So we're spinning our wheels and we're throwing money away for
No.
absolutely no benefit and no gain in the end.
yeah, but at this point is we're just trying to respond to federal regulation.
Well, it just goes to show you how stupid the government can be. They don't mind spending millions, just throwing it away. Because we all know the end result is gonna be, unless you wanna go out and start hunting eastern grays and raising owls and such.
We're not
you know.
advocating anything like that, Commissioner.
Government just does a lot of stupid things, and this is one of them, unfortunately. How much money are we talking about? That's my question. Just roughly.
What is the estimate? 150,000?
Yes, and we believe that's on the conservative end of things. Excuse me.
And where's that money gonna come from?
Road fund.
Road fund?
No general fund.
But still, it detracts from our abilities to really do something worthwhile.
Well,
That's the bottom line.
is the box we're
I know.
being put
We're
in?
in that box, right?
And we don't have the latitude.
Are we up against a time frame or something? Because pretty soon these critters are gonna be gone. The
Oh,
grays,
yeah, of course we're against, because we're moving forward with improvements on Barber Road.
and we have to finish it up. Okay, I don't like it, but I have to go along with
The
it.
trees involved, not just the squirrel anyway, right? So regardless of the squirrel, we're stuck
Oh, we have
with
to do, yeah.
the tree issue.
Yeah, we need to mitigate the habitat, and that's really what it is.
Are these Oregon white oaks, like what makes them endangered or difficult? Do they only grow in
So the
certain
Oregon white oak,
conditions
the
or?
Oregon white oak is not the endangered species.
living
Is
conditions for
is
the
the
western
environment, is the habitat, the western gray squirrel who is endangered
Oh, I
utilizes.
thought you said that it was a.
Is
Because I
the,
know
is
sometimes
the, is
there's.
the western gray squirrel who is listed as endangered species. And they use the Oregon white oak as their,
There are lots and lots of stands of
But
this
we have-
particular.
We have, like, in our critical areas ordinance, Thurston County, we have certain kinds of oak trees that are by themselves with this.
it could be,
Like
it could be.
designated as, you can't,
This Gary oak, you know.
yeah,
Very oak,
I don't remember the different species. Okay, well, doesn't really matter.
No, 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 no. No, no.
It's only if you want the westerns to succeed, which they
Can't tell the
can't.
difference between the two.
Well, there's quite a size difference. You can see how come they're gonna win.
We have squirrely in my backyard.
I
We call him squirrely.
would guess he's probably an eastern if he's pretty good size. The other ones are not much bigger than our own brown squirrels.
It's interesting. Okay, and then
Thank you,
that will-
Ryan.
thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
That will conclude our department items. We have a public hearing at 3:30, which is public hearing to consider adoption of compost procurement ordinance.
Yeah, Commissioner, this is the last step on this particular ordinance where you receive public testimony. And this is related to the House Bill 1799. For your consideration, you have two items. One is to close the public hearing. And depending on the public testimony, if the board feels comfortable for your consideration, we have a motion for you to approve the ordinance. Depending on the public testimony you might receive, you may consider delaying that second option, but give you the options for you to consider.
Thank you. Questions or anything you would like to add? Amy?
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Sorry about that. No, that summary was very adequate. But yeah, any questions you might have, I'm here.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions.
Questions, Commissioner Munster? And no questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. That will conclude our draft agenda for our meeting of January 31st, 2023. Next is proclamations and awards and advisory boards and commissions. Jamie.
Good morning. I have no updates for the proclamations at this time. For the boards and commissions, the standing applications for the Agricultural Advisory Committee and the Black Lake Special District request have been included again for your review. I did receive an application for the Citizens Commission on Salaries for Elected Officials, and that one is new and included in there as well. The Ag Committee is still recommending appointment of Stella Waxwing. They did review the last batch of apps that they had, and they still wanted to proceed forward with recommending her appointment. I also reached out to the Black Lake Special District to see what type of recruiting they did for the open seat that they had per your request last week. From the response I got that's included in your packet, I don't think that there was a whole lot done. I think it was probably just a general discussion, and I got the impression that they're going to discuss further outreach at their next meeting on February 20th. So waiting on that, if you'd like to do that, is totally an option. Outside of any questions, that's all I have.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
I don't know if it's a question, but I guess if they're gonna have additional outreach, maybe we wouldn't do anything on that for now. And the salary commission, looks like that's something we need. And on the ag committee, I don't exactly get it exactly, but I'm still with Mr. Schoenbacher.
Okay.
I agree on Black Lake. My read of that email was they were gonna try to maybe do some outreach or something. I know salary commission, we have a time crunch. We were hoping to get somebody to get them to maybe make some recommendations back to the first of the year. So I would say let's get that person elevated. And I'm gonna still support the ag committee's recommendation of Ms. Waxwing.
Thank you. I'm on the same with the Black Lake Special District, so that's how I read it as well. Citizens Commission on Salaries for Elected Officials. I'm very excited. This has been one of the hardest positions to fill on the Salary Commission.
They just came this application. If anything, I will strongly encourage the board to bring this item for your consideration this afternoon.
Before he backs out.
Well, we need more and an attorney, which Mr. Peter Lindgren is. It really is the vacancy that we need, and also will allow the salary commission to have more flexibility in creating a quorum to do their business. So I strongly suggest for you to consider this appointment this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm ready to move forward on that one because I know that it's been sitting empty and there's been a lot of outreach done to try to get that position filled. So we'll go ahead and add that one. And then for the Ag Advisory Committee, I said I was gonna reach out to the chair of the Ag Committee last week, and I apologize because I wasn't able to do that last week, and I just completely got just bombarded with,
Why don't we wait then? It
with
isn't like
other
we-
matters.
We were pretty busy.
So I was, I didn't really, I'm still kind of with where you are, Commissioner Edwards, but I wanted to give that opportunity to the chair of the Ag Advisory Committee to give me any information he thought would be, useful, but I just didn't have a chance last week. So,
I'm fine to wait.
okay, thank you, I appreciate it, okay. So we'll wait on the Ag Advisory, Jamie. Okay, next is PIO check-in.
Good morning, Commissioners. Megan Porter, Public Information Supervisor. I'm still working through applicants to try and fill my Public Information Specialist position. Probably another round of interviews next week. And then the website redesign project is still on track. Just want to make sure I update you every week on that we're still on track to go live the last week of February. So staff are currently moving and migrating pages at this time. So pending any questions? Yes, Commissioner Menzer.
So when we go live with them, is it like how complete of a launch is that versus, a couple pages and then we'll
It will
keep
be
that?
complete. Yep. It is intended to replace the current website completely.
Great.
Let's see. Art was working on that, right?
Yes, RTM is
Does that mean he's gonna be done? Or is he gonna keep around maintaining it, or what happens now?
his position was extended through the end of March, but his position is funded specifically for the website project. So when the website project is done.
I thought it was longer.
I think it was there to June.
Oh, the end of June. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was through the end of March.
That was
Yeah,
one of the
June.
things I
You're
advocated.
right, it's
Oh,
June.
sorry.
But not to say, but if the project ends before,
Yeah.
there's a project position.
Did he do a super job on this?
He's doing a great job working with IT and facilitating this project with
We talk about
Paige.
personnel issues in a public meeting, but if he did good, are we looking at him, or? That's kind of what I'm wondering. I don't know any of those particulars. It oftentimes we get to see how a person's work is, that's all.
Yeah.
And if there's a fit. That's all I'm asking. So don't know any answers to that yet, that's fine. We won't talk about it anymore.
Okay. So let's go ahead. I know I'll let the county manager hold off a little bit on the legislative update. Let's go ahead and take a break. I know he's been chomping at the bit for the legislative update.
Thank you. I will try to go quickly on that, since you may want to spend some time.
Welcome back. We are back from break. It is 10:43 a.m. We left up with legislative update.
Commissioners, I provided you with a net updated report of the legislative bills that we're tracking. I am not gonna be,
That binder is scary, Ramiro.
I'm not gonna be walking you through, but I sent a report. If you have any comments related to any particular bill, please let me know. One of the,
You want that now or later?
anytime later. I want to be respectful because the next two items on your agenda are going to take a significant amount of time.
I do have two questions I'd like to
But
ask.
please do, and I would be more than happy to answer if I'm.
Well, I think my seatmates need to hear my questions, that's all.
And,
Just two.
there's a couple bills, our bill, related to, the Veterans Fund is move out of committee, it has been referred to rules. It was bipartisan vote, I believe 5-1, 6-1. So we'll see what happens. It seems to be a little bit support, but I know there's some representatives may not be supporting this as well. It's the others bill, and that is page 2, House Bill 1049. It is related to just the timelines in which we need to submit the revisions for the boundaries of the Board of County Commissioners.
And I testified in the House and the Senate for that bill.
I heard it last night, that one's been sailing through so far, so.
Before, there's a couple changes on page 4. The House Bill 1223 is, the recommendation is support as opposed to oppose.
Which number?
On page 4, House Bill 1223.
Should say support.
And that's all I have for now, and I'd like to give you a perspective. We're working with the county auditor right now. And Elizabeth is here with us. We're working on changing, hopefully have a bill to change RCW 3617-024. And that is related to the salary commission. And the salary commission, at this point, the statute only refers to a representation of non-charter county or 3 commissioners. We need to go through the process updating to reflect the 5 commissioners representation. And also within this legislative request, it will be including clarifying what the referendum of this particular statute is and how that will be playing out. If a citizen would like to file a referendum related to the recommendations of the salary commission. So that is coming. They have a very tight timeline. Hopefully we can submit this today. And what I will do is as soon as I have a draft of the proposed changes, I will put in your inbox for you to track that is. So that is a new element that is not included on your report today.
On page 2, House Bill 1071, securing schools.
Thank you. That is it's only one line item. It's 2 line.
Yeah, I
items
see
of the
there's
same-
2 in there, right. But I'm curious why we're neutral on that. I have to say, I am very much in favor of making our schools as absolutely safe as we can.
The recommendation that I put as a neutral, because I believe, it's just my humble perspective, it takes away the ability of any school district to determine if they need a resource officer or not. This requires for every single school to have a resource officer, and that is why I suggested neutral. But this is great conversation. That's exactly what I would like to engage the board on this position.
I don't know a mechanism in place. I don't like necessarily mandates, but when it's a mandate to keep kids safe, I agree with that.
So there you go. So
that's kind of where I'm at on that. I know that we've had great support in Thurston County about having resource officers. And so I don't think it'll affect us, but I do hear from other school boards and such that I would just like to support that myself, anything to having to do with supporting kids. I don't know how my seatmates are on that issue.
I'll just give you my explanation as what is just neutral. But certainly that is a conversation you need to have.
We got our hands full on what we need to do anyway, but. So that's one issue.
Before you move on, I mean, really it's good conversation for the board to see if you don't need to agree, obviously, on my recommendation, but if you like.
I would like to read it before, I would like to see kind of the,
I don't think that our schools are in agreement on this, and I would not want to take local control away from the school districts to do what they think is right for their schools. And there's also controversy about school resource officers that the state recognized when they passed that bill about 3 years ago, that to collect data and do an analysis of how they're working and making sure there weren't racial disparities in the activities of school resource officers. We didn't see anything like that in Thurston County, but I'd really like to see the results of that state study before I would feel comfortable with this. But mainly it's about local control. I know that we're providing school resource officers to the districts in the county and they all want them. And I've spoken to the superintendent, and I know Olympia School District had a very different conversation at their board level about that, and they paused their program, I think. And I think they had every right to do that.
Then they went ahead and implemented it later, did they?
Not sure how it landed. I know at a certain point, they put a hold on it and they were having a community conversation about it. I don't know where it landed, but I think those conversations should happen. You know, the school district should have that ability to do that.
I do have one other issue.
Sure.
And that is on page 3, and that has to do with detached accessory dwelling units.
which one is?
House Bill 1133, Senate Bill 5357.
The way that I had it neutral, I had, first of all, in support of this bill, but WASAC is testifying in opposition to that. So
Is there a reason for?
so I need to research as to the information as to why they're opposing, so that's what I put in neutral, that is on my things to do.
So you're gonna give us an update on that?
Next week for sure. Yeah, so that, because the first reaction that I had absolutely on point was to support it. Then I got feedback that in fact WASAC was going to oppose it. And I don't know if you recall the reasons to why the WASAC is opposing.
I have to go back and look up my notes. Off the top of my head, I do not. We've covered so many bills, but.
Well, county, a lot of commissioners don't want to limit growth in their jurisdictional areas. I mean, we tried to strike the perfect balance, you know, and I thought we got it pretty good. We got FutureWise and the master builders in support of our hybrid. We have kind of a hybrid approach in Thurston, but.
It well may be the pro WASAC sees the, I need to read it. I don't want to speculate.
I'm not sure either.
I don't want to speculate.
I'll pull it back up my notes and see.
It's gonna, because that's the only reason, good catch. That was the reason as to why it's neutral, because I needed to do some homework.
Thank you.
I was just, you know, I always ask the question of like, do we need to take a position on this? And, you know, kind of one that jumped out at me was like, the second one on the list, installing signs near bridges to provide information to deter jumping. Is this something we really have to?
It's interesting, and when I started reading this bill, so the genesis of this bill is, it's not needed, but it was related to a young person in Lewis County who jumped off the bridge and died. And this particular bill requires that every single bridge will be signalized, not jump, you know. And I think it's, you know, I don't think it's needed because we exercise a professional judgment as to when we signal and put signs on those bridges. But this particular bill, and I could probably give you the name of the person who this bill is named after, that is the genesis. Is a young person who jumped off a bridge that was not signed properly. And they
thought it was only 5 feet and.
So that's what it is. and I can probably give you the details of this. It was, the law is enacted in the request of family and friends of Zachary Lee Ranger of the Chehalis community.
Is there a dollar amount associated
No.
with it yet?
No, it's just a requirement for all the bridges to be put at sign, not to jump up the
Yeah, but
bridge.
that's gonna cost a lot of money.
But we exercise that on a professional point of view, so.
So, as Senate Bill 5027, promoting housing affordability by incentivizing the construction of American Dream homes.
What page are you?
I am on page 5 of 6.
1527.
Yeah, this was one of the ones that I remember clearly discussing at WASAC, because basically American Dream Homes is a private company, and this bill is incentivizing this private company, and it was, there was a lot of conversation about, it's strange that a bill would come specifically outlining.
I have a different take on that, Madam Chair, because it provides a definition of what American is not a corporation. It's an actual definition, which includes, is a single, let me find the bill.
How does that connect to providing?
So like, well, there were really good aspects of the bill. There were some things that I remember that there was a lot of discussion about.
So
this
the
one.
American Dream Homes, based on the bill, is defined as owner-occupied, single-family home that is 1,700 square feet or less.
Serving low-income housing.
Yeah, say low-income housing. There is not related, you're right, because I was confused at the same time. There is a corporation name as that, but the definition of this bill is related to specifically to the single-family homes that is dedicated for low-income below 1,700 square feet. That's how the definition of this bill. That's what I might suggest to support it. It does have a little bit of unintended consequences, though, because it puts a prescription that some of the fees associated with the processing this, it puts a cap on the fee as to how much jurisdictions can charge. So that puts, at least in the Thurston County's perspective, that we might be seeing having to subsidize the processing of those applications.
This kind of goes, I mean, this is a permutation of that whole thing that, remember, the Thurston Thrives, the blue team was working on, there was green team and red team, and the blue team was about the developers and how to like make a small project home pencil out economically, and they created that financial model, and this is how many fees would have to be reduced in order to make a 1,200 square foot home be profitable in today's market and all that. This sounds like an attempt to operationalize that problem, that small homes aren't being built because the economics aren't penciling out.
Thank you. That's exactly the intent, I believe, of this bill is to create a stock of affordable housing. And affordable housing doesn't mean big homes, it's the big footprint, is 1,700 square feet or less. So, and that's what, so the definition is prescriptive on the bill as to what the American Dream is.
I have to look back, but I remember there was a lot of conversation of this at LSC. But I have to see in my notes specific concerns. I remember the American Dream homes. That was the big part I remember, because I remember it was Rob Gelder who was like, it's so strange that they would name it.
That was the first reaction that I had, because when I came across this bill and in research, it came up and as a bill-based company. They have the same name, but it has a little extra. But the bill, again, is in the states, the American Dream Homes to encourage the development of single-family housing for low-income households. The American Dream Home is an owner-occupied, single-family residential detached dwelling of 1,700 square feet or less.
If I were a legislator, I would be thinking about putting like a 10-year sunset on this to is it working to even, are we actually getting more stock of these kind of homes? And B, is it adequate? I mean, you might not need a program like this forever,
And I think the reason that I recommend.
Okay, I'm smart.
Yeah, section 1 says that this will happen until December 31st of 2030.
Yeah. So it's,
I like it.
and it takes, exempt impact fees. So it's something the board has already considered. and incentivizing low income.
You can't just sit here and, I don't know how all the numbers work out, but but you can't just go, well, that's gonna mean less money to the county. Well, that's what the whole effort, I mean, if you're talking about less government fees, then government gets less money. I mean, that's the result of the policy. And is it gonna create a net positive to the community? Maybe it will. I'd like to, I'm willing to see.
It's gotta be, targeted for low-income households, so it is an attempt to create affordable housing.
I'm
It
supporting that.
includes one of the impacts to the county is not only the reduction in the fees, but it also exempts the home from property tax for 10 years.
Without,
That won't affect our property tax, but it will benefit the low-income.
that's right. Because we don't,
Right,
The
we
laws
collect the levy
we just-
regardless of the,
Wouldn't this bill, honestly though, if you were doing a fiscal analysis, isn't it gonna hit cities way harder than like Thurston County?
It could be, I have not seen a fiscal note related to this bill, but certainly that could be the case.
In terms of the number of types of homes of this nature, based on our zoning and.
Because the cities are the ones who have smaller footprints, obviously, with less real estate to build.
talks about, authorizing the siting outside of the urban growth area.
Say that again.
This bill talks about the city or county may authorize the siting of an American Dream home outside of the urban growth area, even where otherwise prohibited by multi-county planning policies.
May or
So,
shall?
May.
May.
So you have the option of citing them. It probably will have a greater impact on cities, but considering where developable land is, I mean, this is not a bad for the, trying to develop affordable housing. In that middle section.
Okay, so let's go ahead and.
So if you have any additional questions related to any of these bills and the staff's recommended position, please let me know. I do have a couple more bills to come back next week, but I certainly will do that. Thank you.
Okay, so
I would I'm sorry, an update on the bill that we are following, 1022. It is in finance, not rules.
Oh, yesterday I thought it was going to rules, so it's going to finance?
It's
Okay,
the
perfect.
website says
Thank you.
referred to finance.
That is gonna be it.
Okay, so nothing on briefing, public hearing decisions pending, commissioner items, LMD administrative rules. I want us to keep kind of a high level on this just because of the time. So I think it's something that we can bring back next week as well to keep discussing if more time is needed. But just, there's a time element, so
Yep.
just be conscious of that.
So as a little bit of a history, this has been months in the making. The last time that we brought for your consideration budget back in November 2022, where you asked me and staff to bring back a blended version of what the LMD leadership provided versus the county's proposal. We provided that to you in November. The next request from the board was to reach out to the LMDs to provide yet another opportunity for the feedback on this. And this is the version that we have provided based on the outreach that Tim did in December 2020. So what I did is I took this and I sent back in January 11th to the leadership of the LMDs, saying this is what I'm planning to provide to the board. And I received only one comment from Mr. Carmen that will be distributed to you related to this version. I have not received any other
Or
comments.
is that the takeaways, or is this past the takeaways?
I have no idea. what-
Because isn't the takeaways, wasn't that Carmen's thing that he sent in? Their concerns?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you're referring to, Commissioner.
Really?
I just bringing back based on the conversations that we started back in November. There's a lot of past history on that, and that is not part
But
of.
you're saying we've come to the conclusion that we have rectified those concerns, is that right?
What I'm saying is we have come to the conclusion to bring you a final draft of the administrative rules for the LMDs.
Okay.
I'm not here to state that we have rectified any perceived
I guess,
elements.
just the fact that we're gonna have additional discussion, I don't think right now maybe is the time to have it because we've got a lot on our plate. But I'm not in a hurry to push this forward. It's my understanding that there are
But I do
some
like-
concerns.
I do like to highlight Mr. Carmen's comments related to this proposal. And I provided to you a copy of his email. He has concerns on, in bullet number 4 of the steering committee representation.
Yeah.
I give you a copy of this email, sir. This email.
Okay, bullet 4, okay,
No,
I
no,
guess,
no,
I've got
sir,
an
not-
email here too
From
from
where?
Mr.
From
Carmen.
when?
January 19th, 2023 is the email that I've got. And that's the one that has the takeaway of the top issues, that's why I asked you that.
The only email that I received from Mr. Carmen is the one that I provided to you. If you receive any other emails from him, I have not received those.
This one is to the 3
Yeah,
commissioners.
so I have not seen those, so
Oh, really?
so I'm a little bit of limping on that one.
Tim, have you seen those?
Yes. What is it you're talking about?
It's from Doug Carmen, January 19th. And it's the concerns about these issues. And then he's got the takeaways on, is a continuation of it, I guess, is just part of this email. Somehow I had that on it.
It's an alternate version of what you.
Apparently, I don't know what you're talking about. I have not been privy of that email, so.
So you haven't discussed this with anybody either? I guess that's,
No, what my recollection is, and going from memory here, is this was an email to the commissioners that I was CC'd on, and I would need to double check that, but I think that's the way that.
I don't know, just commissioners were included in this, no staff.
So,
Okay, I
and
mean,
so
that's
that's a little bit frustrating for me, to be honest with you, because on the same date, I received this email from Mr. Carmen that I just distributed to you, with specific, providing comments on this version.
I think that's what this one is doing too, but I don't know.
So, and I'd like to highlight this because it's very important for me to state at least my point of view related to his comments. And this is bullet number 4 on the steering committee representation, bullet number 4 of this version. It's attached in your packet, sir.
Okay. Is that not from Travis? Not
Yeah.
this. It is this?
Yeah, that one. Page 1, is steering committee representation, bullet number 4.
Okay.
It says steering committee are advisory in nature and do not have decision-making authority. He argues the contrary. And he says, we believe the steering committee and their committee members are the customer and the county is the contractor where we pay to do the work. And I think for me, it's very important to wrap my perspective because nowhere in the statute states the county or the Board of County Commissioner serve as a contractor to any committee. And that's fundamentally out of line, if I may. Because your legislative authority is you are the one who make the decisions related to budget and related to how you're going to be proceeding with the fees that you receive. At no point in the statute, as far as I know, it states the Board of County Commissioners and the county is a contractor to the LMDs. That is not accurate. And I just to highlight, because I'm sure they're watching this right now, and I need to highlight that, that element to you.
Okay. I guess if we want to spend some time on it, I've got some concerns about the takeaways that Mr. Carmen submitted in that email of the 19th. But are we gonna do that? Are we gonna try to solve this immediate thing in
No,
tonight?
not today, because we
Yeah.
have a 45-minute executive session.
Okay, so,
Um,
Yeah, and I would want that in front of me, so.
yeah, okay,
Yeah, so,
so let's kind of table it for right now.
yeah,
and-
let's go ahead and I think there's, thank you, Tim. We'll go ahead and table this and then like move it to
Sure.
next agenda setting, or if we need a work session for this, but I just want to be respectful that we have a long executive session coming, and I want to make sure that we have the time that we need to discuss.
And the sheriff's time is precious. So thank you for joining us, sir.
True.
No, it is.
I don't think we're gonna get this done outside of a separate work session, so
I
I
think
think it's
so.
silly to think that we're gonna pass the admin rules
So
in the
let's,
context of a 9 AM Tuesday morning.
so can we schedule a work session for this? I think that's the best direction to go, because usually on a 9 AM, we're pressed for time, and thank you, Tim.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so with that, we are moving into an executive session.
Well, I need all the players here.
Is Elizabeth, who else?
Travis, Elizabeth, is Travis joining us here?
back from executive session. It is 12:07 PM. Our executive session was per RCW 42.30.110 subsection 1I to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency litigation or potential litigation to which the agency, the governing body, or a member acting in official capacity is or is likely to become a party when public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence to the agency. Supreme Court. No commissioner's action follows this, but we will have an update later. Thank you.
Good job, Madam Chair.